Hey, BookTube. Not sure why I'm whispering, but so yeah, Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. A long title, a thought-provoking title, and a misleading title. Um, but a title nonetheless by Hikaru Murakami. All that stuff I just said, that wasn't a part of the title, just that first bit. Um, but the reason why reading this book was so much fun was because it was my first ever really legit buddy read. Like, on the Voxa that all the kids like, according to Steve Donahue. So, like, hey guys, say something. I'm making my booktube video right now. See? That's legit stuff right there. Um, yeah. So I just really want to thank James Chatham and Rhea. Please tell me if I'm saying your name right, Rhea. Um, I don't know if I am. And then the fact that you're kind of schooling me on language is kind of freaking me out. And I believe you're from Finland, which is also freaking me out. Not that you're Finnish, but that I have no idea how to pronounce anything from that area. I'm still trying to get song titles right from my death metal and black metal bands from the region. So anyway, but the book. Now, as you may have remembered, I really the Murakami books I've read I've really liked, and they make me feel it's weird because there's a sadness to it, but not like a crippling sadness or like a sadness that lingers with you. When you read his stuff, it's there's like a little there's a little sadness. I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. And it's funny because I could remember this movie or TV show in the back of my head where might even have been Shaun of the Dead, where I think it was Shaun of the Dead, where the chick's describing something to someone, like I guess about how to act like a zombie or whatever, and she says something like a sad drunk on a lonely night, or a sad clown, or something like that, just to like convey the look on the face they should have. And the narrators in Murakami's stuff is usually, from all I've read, have been first person narrations. And kind of in this book too, the narrator is like he almost doesn't want to be a part of this, and he is just recounting a period of his life, and this situation has happened, and he has kind of been thrusted into it. Thrust sounds a little too forceful, but like, regardless, he's in the situation and he's just reluctant. And through this reluctance, it he doesn't know what to do. And I was explaining it like like you know how there's like bad Keanu Reeves movies and then Keanu Reeves movies that you'll watch, like the movies where he's either so stupid or just doesn't know, anything, and the story has to be like spoon fed to him for him to understand what's going on. Let me IE you here. So, like the Matrix movie, the first Matrix movie, Devil's Advocate, um, Bill and Ted's. Um, God, are those the only good Keanu Reeves movies? Like John Wick was good, kinda, but I think it was good despite him. Like he didn't really talk, and he was good in that movie, The Gift. But I think that was because his role was so small. But like movies where he does know stuff, like The Watcher or Speed. I make fun of Speed all the time. Just because he's constantly like this. And like Point Break is kind of like a middle ground thing because he has a job to do, but he still doesn't know what the F's going on. So, anyway, long story short, that is kind of, to me, the type of narrators that frequent the Murakami books that I've read. And this one is no different. In fact, when I first started reading it, because it said Hard Boiled Wonderland, I immediately was like, "Oh, dude, this is gonna be like a super cool detective story. This is gonna be awesome." And at first, it did not start off like that at all, and in actuality, it never really is. But because of how cynical the character is in this, like it ends up working, and there's like elements from like detective stories that come up. Like there's this little guy and a big giant buff dude who like come and trash his place, and while they're trashing his place, they're like having a conversation with them, and the little guy is, and he's like trying to like explain, like, oh, everything's cool, we gotta do our business, and it's really, really, like, to me that was endearing because like I've read so many books that have like just that whole thing in them, and then like there was a lot of like very Chandlerish dialogue where just like great little, like one of my favorite lines in the whole book is they're talking about how to be a woodsman or something like that, and the guy's like, a good woodsman has one scar on him, no more or no less. And like the image that paints for you is, to be a good woodsman, you go out there and you fuck up, but you never fuck up again. And if you haven't fucked up yet, you're not a good woodsman, kind of thing. And then like there was this bit where like they were, I won't say where they were, but they were in the dark, and this girl asked him to sing something, and just like a total something that just seems like a total random but like legit thing to say is like, I don't sing in the dark. Like, boom, like, back it off, like, it's so Raymond Chandler. But there's also this really very Dashiell Hammett thing about it, because you have like if you've read Red Harvest or The Maltese Falcon, you have different groups of people who are all kind of trying to play the main character, or try to play one another off the main character, or but mainly trying to play the main character. And so all of the elements of things that I really enjoy about like detective fiction, and his characters, like his narrators are very hard boiled. Like when you think about it, um like heavy drinkers, heavy smokers, um eating shitty because they don't really give a fuck, super cynical, going to bed with women if they have to or if they want to, and not really having much of a thought about it, or a concern about it, like their goal is to just figure out what the hell's going on. And a lot of times when they want to find out what the hell's going on, it might be the most important thing to them to find that out. But as you get to know that character, you realize that there's really nothing important to this person. And so just because there's a tinge of wanting to figure something out, that's like the most important thing in that person's life, if that makes any sense. So all of that stuff together really made the book for me. And then there's this whole other part of it where there's another narrator, and it's alternating chapters. And so the way it breaks down, because it's called, what do you call it? Hard Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World. So Hard Boiled Wonderland is the odd number chapters, and the End of the World is the even number chapters. And after the first couple chapters, I was like, really like, man, I wish this was just 2 books. But then you come to realize really quick why it's 1 book. And like we had a couple different ideas like pretty early on, and none of them were right that I could think of. But then we kind of stopped talking about it because you hit a point where you're like, oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen right now. And then the whole time you're like, okay, that's probably what's going to happen, but it would be cool if something else happened. Um, and then you just have to like ride the train off the cliff, like it's not like the train can turn, the tracks have been blown up, you're going for it, the brakes are out, you can't swerve, you can't do anything, you're just holding on and you're gonna fall off that cliff. So that was pretty interesting. The magical realism slash fantasy slash sci-fi-ish elements were fine, and like were kind of like the crux of the story. But at the same time, I really enjoy Murakami's characters, and I really like kind of how aloof they are. Like not just the main characters, like the whole cast. So the book could have been about like um, gambling on goldfish or something like that, and the characters were fun enough for me to want to read, and it's just depressing enough to not like push me over the edge and like want to go sit up in a clock tower, but it's just depressing enough for me to go like, oh, every time I read one of his books, I'm gonna go back and watch it, the one I did on Pinball 73, because I feel like I had the same feeling. I was just like, oh, like kind of depressed that it was over, and kind of just, I don't know what the feeling is. I wish I could articulate this better. It's not like a void, but it's just, maybe it's just like real. It's just like, fuck, that's like real shit. Like, but it's not. I don't know. Anyway, if you know what I'm trying to say, please let me know down there. And I realize, because it's been kind of a while. It's a while for me. Like it's been like 6 months since I read a Murakami book, And it just made me realize how much I missed it. And it also, you know what? Here's another thing. Like, if you like the Henry Chininsky books by Charles Bukowski, or like The Hippos Are Boiled in Their Tanks, Junkie and Queer by William S. Burroughs, I really think that you'll find something in these Murakami books that kind of speak to you, because the way these like kind of lonely, isolated characters just have these things happen in their lap, kind of thing, and how they react to it is very endearing to me. And the funny thing is, like, with Burroughs, not Edgar Rice, but William S., you read those books, and like, he's such a lonely soul and he's so alone. But then, like, as you're reading it, you're like, oh, there's like 6 other people in his apartment right now. Oh, okay. Or you're reading and you're like, oh, he's married and has a family in the book right now. Huh. It's weird because he's extremely lonely and isolated, but very much alone. But anyway, so reading this book has made me miss reading Bukowski and miss reading Burroughs and miss reading Murakami. And the funny thing is that when I first started, the reason why I went to Murakami in the first place was because everyone was like, "Ooh, he's like the Japanese Kurt Vonnegut." I don't think that's right. Like, I could see little elements, but like, I don't like. I think that's a bad description. I really, really do. So there's that. At the end of the day, I really, really like the book. Even though the ending is kind of telegraphed. Here's another thing that we were talking about, and I went ahead and started Wild Sheep Chase, which is the third of the Rat books. So, like, the first books he wrote or whatever about the character called the Rat, which is funny because they're not really about him. He's just in them. But the same thing is happening in this book, and it's driving me crazy. This is the one problem I think I have, is that you'll be reading this, there's this great mystery, you know, you don't know exactly what's going on. Cue random character who we've met a couple times but now is willing to tell us the truth about everything. And then they come in and the narrator's like, "What the hell? Oh, let me explain this to you." And in this book it gets to the point where like he's drawing pictures to fucking explain, because the narrator is just either too stupid or what. But he's like, "Here, let me draw this out for you." And like, it seemed like at one point he asked the same question 3 different times in 3 slightly different ways to get to the same answer. And it's like this like huge info dump, plot drop, like, but to me it's like, if you've ridden the train that long, because in that book it came kind of late in the book, and then there's kind of another one at the very end of the book, but like in Wild Sheep Chase, like, I'm just barely over halfway, and it's just like information vomit. It's so weird. So that's the one thing that is to. Oh, that's not true. I could give you a ride to shut the hell up. No, I'm just kidding. Um, yeah, I guess so. I am doing a video for the Bookatube. It's okay. That's what editing's for. Not that I'll do it. Do you want a window into my life besides me being a taxi? Um, this is what Zoe just sent me a picture of. Wait, what is that? What is that? It is a very... Wow, that is very hard to see. Let me see if I can turn the brightness down. I've been having a real problem with brightness lately. I have to change it like all the time. This is called a Rainbow Deluxe Platter. Does that look good to you guys? For those sushi eating people? I personally am not a sushi eater. Just making a video for BookTube. I don't know if you guys have the same problem, but that just said making a video for But Do You. My older iPhone seemed to understand every fucking thing I say. This newer iPhone, I don't know if it's doing it to like seriously make me want to fight it, but like I want to throw it off my balcony and hope that it falls into like some sort of like metal grinder. It I feel like it's purposefully fucking with me and making everything I say and do fucked up. But anyway, I'm gonna try to wrap this up. Too late, Dick. But yeah, so I really enjoyed this book. Definitely read it. I actually reviewed it, if you didn't know that. I wrote a small review on Goodreads, which was nice. But anyway, it was like, again, my first buddy read, and it was a total blast. Because, oh wait, here, let me explain something to you. See, back in the day, when you wanted to buddy read a book, that meant that you and your buddy had to have the same book. Like, you had to have the same book. Like, and the people I read with were like, we would get together or go to like a coffee shop or something like that, and one person would read a book and someone would read another book, and if they really liked it, they would say, dude, you got to read this book. And then they hand you the book, and then you either have to be that excited to read it and then read it right away, or it's one of those books that end up like kind of in the bathroom or something, like where you weren't that interested in it, but you tried and you just don't give a shit anymore. And that's how you buddy read. So if you wanted to discuss a book that you both read, sometimes it would be like 5 or 6 months before you could actually have the conversation. So in this sense, technology is wonderful, because we could all read a book and talk about it. So I really enjoy that. Because me and my buddy Chris, man, when we wanted to talk about a Vonnegut book or something, it took forever. And usually by the time we finally started talking about it, I fucking forgot what I wanted to say about it in the first place. Because I did not know about commonplace books, where you write down your thoughts about a book. But now I do, and not that it helps me now, but anyway. Oh, let's see what Zozo said. Okay, let me know when you're done. Beautiful. With hearts. Not that you can see. That's very sweet of her. So anyway, I guess that's it. Definitely go read it. I wish I could describe this emotion that I feel when I read his stuff. This video would have been over in 7 minutes if I could, like, vocalize that feeling. Whatever. He's got a lot of other books, so hopefully I'll figure out what the fuck I'm talking about by the time I get to the end of his catalog. I'll come back. Okay, see you guys.